What's up, everyone? This is the Nuts and Bolts Podcast, and I'm your host, the one James, here with our amazing co-host, Airball.
Hey, guys.
And Michael Kritz.
What to do?
And we are here to give you the nuts and bolts of the standard and pioneer formats each and every week. But first, let me talk to you about the sponsor of the podcast, CoolStuffInc.com. Using code JAMES5, you can save 5% off of anything in the store, sealed products, singles, anything you could ever need in Magic the Gathering, and every other card game for that matter. They have it. Go save yourself some hard-earned money and go to CoolStuffInc.com today. You know what's next. It's the upkeep. We're going over the jargon today, and it's cheese. Any tactic which completely avoids combat in order to win or bring oneself closer to winning. A lot of times people bring up cheesing the game when they're just in top deck mode the last second and top deck a lightning strike or a lightning bolt to kill your opponent from 3 or less life out. And I guess that's how I look at cheesing. How do you guys look at cheesing?
For me, cheesing is when one player is like massively ahead and they're just trying to avoid losing in some bullshit way.
Yeah.
Cheese is basically bullshit. Like, you get pinged down by, some random Mayhem Devil trigger from a bunch of sacrifices when you could have just gained 10 life from something earlier in the game. But you were greedy, so you didn't, and so you got cheesed out by Mayhem Devil.
You, Michael?
Cheese is anything my opponents do when I'm playing Rakdos, because I have, done enough stuff throughout the whole beginning and middle of the game, and they just top deck exactly what they need, and I lose. And that's cheesing for me. That's probably what it describes.
Oh, I guess cheese is like anything that you could be the most salty about actually happening. Like, is your opponent cheesing?
Mm-hmm.
But I do kind of agree with you, Airball, that it's like, what is the way that I get cheesed? And then you have to try to not get cheesed if you're super far ahead in card advantage.
I think that's a topic. That's a topic for a different podcast.
Oh no, different topic.
I don't need to hear how you get cheesed, but
God. Okay. Moving on. Let's go to the main phase. We're talking about Panharmonicon. If you don't know what that is, Magic did a Twitch stream today that went over a first look, quote unquote, of Phyrexia All Will Be One, the new set coming out in the beginning of February, first week of February. And there's a few cards that are spoiled. There's some rarities that are spoiled. I said foil because what's not foil in this thing, right? I mean, everything's foil. But
nice save.
we're gonna go into, that was a good save, wasn't it? We're gonna go into all these cards, and there's not too many cards, but we have some to go over. But first, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Elesh Norn. This one's called Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines. It's a 4 and a white for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, Vigilance 4/7. And Elesh Norn was a 4/7 before, wasn't she? Or was it a 5/7? If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, and permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger. So it is a Panharmonicon, and at the same time, it's a Torpor Orb for just your opponent. So this is 5 mana. So are you playing this in standard? Is it just like a commander? Is it just in commander decks? Like, I mean, Elesh Norn being 5 mana, like, that's a lot. But everyone before said, Sheoldred's 4 mana. It doesn't have an enters the battlefield trigger. It's going to die immediately. And then Sheoldred is like a multi-format all-star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. What's your first impression? Give me your first impression. Give me your hot takes about Elesh Mom.
We all love a mommy. The first hot take is Elesh Norn, mommy of machines. No one's gonna ever say mother of machines. Let's get that off and poppin'. Of course, she is mommy of machines. MOM. Look at what they did there. Real clever.
That was on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what deck wants this, because I mean, it's too expensive for mono white. Like, I know mono black, it like 4 mana, super expensive mono black, but like, is it really? It's not, because I don't know. 4 mana is much more. It's very different than 5 mana. 4 mana is that's where you kind of want to have like your big effect, or 5 mana you want to have your big effect. 4 mana and you don't have much of an effect, like people argued about Sheoldred. Okay, but like it it's going to survive at least a turn or two damage to your opponent. If they have nothing to deal with it, you probably win the game. 5 mana, Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, a 4/7 Vigilance. She doesn't really do anything when she first comes into the battlefield. Your opponent will definitely play around it if they don't have to play something that ETBs. It's much different in the color white. As I'm happy it wasn't 3 white. If it was 3 white, this card would be probably very unplayable, like way more unplayable. But since it's 4 and a white, sideboard for control, I don't know. We can divert to Airball to have him answer that question, because I'm not a big control mage. But like,
I already have a spicy idea for this card, but I want to hear what you have to say, Airball.
Yeah, I think we might be on the same page with this. I think that Enigmatic Incarnation really wants this card.
Oh, we're not on the same page, but I like that page.
Okay, this page is excellent. So I think Michael's right that Elesh Norn at 4/7 that doesn't really do much when it ETBs. I'm gun shy about my take on Shieldred earlier, where I said it was bad. I think I'm right this time. Elesh Norn just dies to an awful lot of removal and doesn't do enough to take over standard, unless there's like a significant amount of ETB support in the set. We haven't seen the whole thing yet, obviously. But right now in Enigmatic Incarnation, the toolbox deck where you have the enchantment that fetches out creatures by sacrificing enchantments, the 5-drop slot in those decks is really bad. Like, you're playing Tolsamir because you need good 5-drops. Cavalier of Dawn is like the other 5-drop that these decks are playing. Elesh Norn comes into play. In the mirror match, it's just going to be a race to this card, because it totally shuts you down if you're playing against this and you're playing Enigmatic Incarnation. And if you're playing with it, then all of your toolbox creatures, when they ETB, get double the effect. Yorion comes into play, blinks everything, it comes back in, everything gets double the effect again. And you reach a point in those decks where you have your Fires of Invention in play, and it's actually hurting you more than it's helping, because it's limiting you to 2 spells per turn, even though you have the mana to do more than that. Just pitch your Fires of Invention, get an Elesh Norn, and then start casting your spells. I think that's going to be a really spicy place for this card.
I have a different idea, but let me just piggyback off of what you said about Elesh Norn. I think this will be a card that is played just because of the stopping your opponent's ETB triggers. I don't think it'll be played much because your ETB triggers get better, because there's already a card that does that, and they already tried to play it, and they ended up cutting it, which was the Sultai card. The Sultai 5 mana, 3/5 with lifelink and death touch.
Yarok.
Yeah. They played Yarok for a while and ended up cutting it because it's a win more effect. It's a win more strategy. If you're getting all of your effects and you have Fires of Invention out and you have Enigmatic in and out, and you are at the point of the game where you're sacrificing permanents to get value, like, you're already kind of in a position where you're winning the game anyway, unless you're super, super far behind. And in that case, you don't really want to go for Yarok anyway, because you have to have follow-up after the Yarok to be good. Elesh Norn, it was an amazing sideboard card, and even playable in the main deck just because it has the ability to stop your opponent, and a 4/7 Vigilance is very, very strong. Yarok is able to be killed by things. Some things do 5 damage or have hard removal. It's really difficult to have hard removal for a 5 mana 4/7, even in Pioneer or Explorer. But my idea for this card in Standard is, you know what color has fallen by the wayside in Standard, guys? Green. Green is like nowhere to be found in like any deck that competitively in tournaments in Standard right now, but I think Elesh Norn brings green back because what is it? A 5-drop. And what cares about 5-drops? Let's see. Storm the Festival. and you can storm the festival into Elesh Norn and other creatures and that get into the battlefield triggers, and this card is the perfect card for that. Because what are you playing right now in your 5-drop slot in Standard with Storm the Festival? What are you playing? You're playing Elspeth Resplendent and Renin 7, right? And what else are you like? Those cards aren't that good. Elesh Norn is a card that you would love to see off of a Storm the Festival, and when Elesh Norn enters the battlefield, she triggers off of herself if you have other cards on the battlefield as well that have cards that say when this creature enters the battlefield, like Galar Greeters. That would trigger twice when Elesh Norn herself enters the battlefield. So there's a lot of things that you can do in Standard. There's a lot of really good ETB triggers in Standard right now that you can use in a Bant Shell with blue, because this you can this is permanent, not just creatures. And I know I'm rambling right now, but you can storm the festival into this and the 4 mana blue card that steals your opponent's creatures, and you trigger that twice because it sees the other card. So there's a lot to be said with a card like this in Storm the Festival in Standard, and this could bring green back to the menu when you think about Standard in that way. So I mean, I'm really impressed with this card in a shell like that. But other than that, I don't think I'm happy with casting this for 5 mana, because I think I'd almost just rather cast an AO the Dawn Sky.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, listeners, anyone who plays Arena or Standard out there, go ahead, put Elesh Norn, Mommy of Machines, in your deck. Go ahead. I'm happy if you do. Just go for it.
Yeah, I think James has the normal Magic player syndrome and the understandable reaction of fantasizing when he sees this card. But I think that's all it is. I think it's just fantasy. I don't see this actually being a good inclusion.
Okay, you don't understand. Sanctuary Warden with this, like, it curves perfectly into that. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of shenanigans. And Mono White midrange is already one of the top decks, and it's proving to beat the black based midrange decks in Standard right now in competitive tournaments. And Elesh Norn just makes those decks better. I don't know.
I'm not sure it does. I'm really not sure it does.
Well, I mean,
that's like.
It would be good like in a mono white midrange deck. It could be like a 1 of in the main board, but side a copy or 2 more if your opponent happens to be playing an enter the battlefield trigger of a deck strategy. But I think it's a lot. It's even more powerful when you throw in the Storm the Festival. So, but anyways, I think we can go on and on about Elesh Norn, but we have more to talk about Elesh Norn too. In the a billion rarities that Elesh Norn is in, how many rarities is this? I mean, I'm gonna scroll down here if you're watching from YouTube. But we have the alternate art borderless cards, and Elesh Norn is one of them. Okay, that's 2. There's also the foil of the original printing. That's 3. Elesh Norn Mother of Machines also has another version of an alternate art borderless card. So it has an alternate art of the alternate art. Is that like alternate art Inception or something? Like, holy moly.
Yeah.
And this one looks extra mommy compared to the other one. It depends on if you like mommy Norn or less mommy Norn.
Yes,
but it is an alternate art of an alternate art, which is hilarious. How many rarities is that? And we're not even done. There's another one. There's an oil slick foil of Elesh Norn and Mother Machines, and it already looks like a Pringle, even from the picture on the screen here. But this, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform and not watching this on YouTube, so you can't see the oil slick foils, I don't even know how to explain this. How do you explain the oil here? Like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Rare?
Yeah, have you ever been in like a parking lot and seen like an oil slick on the ground?
Yeah, exactly.
That rainbow. That's what this is.
Yeah, it's like you were in a parking lot and you accidentally stepped in the oil pot and you're like, what did I just step in? And you look down, it's a rainbow. Like it's basically that.
You just stepped in Elesh Norn.
Yeah, you stepped in Elesh Norn. I see what you did there.
More Elesh Norn on my shoe.
No, Elesh Norn's supposed to step on somebody else, not us step on Elesh Norn. Anyway,
also, wait, before we continue, who's that psychologist that says like everything that you when it comes to like mommy or parent shit, that like everything that. Yeah, I feel like everything in this set is like a Freudian slip. Like someone in Magic Development just is like, just straight up, like a lot of team members in the Magic Development team just went full Freudian and just like completely mommified everything. So like, yeah, I think it's just everyone getting caught up in mommy energy.
I'm just blaming. I know Light Humphreys personally. I'm just blaming him like for everything now. no,
You seem like the type. You seem like the type. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. I'll meet you, Light. I'm kidding, Light.
No, Watsy, don't come after us. I know. Light's a friend. At least I know for now. No, I like people like to attribute Elesh Norn to like mommy even before Elesh Norn had the literal word mother in the name. Like now Elesh Norn has mother in the name, and then it's Mother of Machines, which is MOM, which is mom. Like that had to be planned, right?
I hope so. And the alt arts, the alt artists out there, if you listen to us for some reason, alt art artists, just go ham, just go wild with this, just run with it, okay?
Okay, yeah. Is that the end? No, actually, oh my gosh, there's 2 more rarities. We're still going. Elesh Norn has another rarity, which is, I don't know what you call this. It just says promos on the screen here, but they did call it something when they were going over the Phyrexia All-Be-One first look live on stream. They called this something. but it is a different rarity, and I don't know if this comes foil or non-foil, or if it comes in a non-foil and foil. I don't know, but there's another one. And then here is another. I can't even explain this to the listeners that aren't watching this on YouTube. It's just Elesh Norn in like almost a T pose, but the arms aren't even out as a T. It's just like stick figure pose, right?
Yeah.
And nothing in the backdrop. It's just white, like off-white in the background. We also have the Phyrexian art of the original art of Elesh Norn, but it's Phyrexianized with Phyrexian lettering, and that's that's probably going to come non-foil and foil, just like Shieldred did, right? I'm not sure 100%, but if you count foil and non-foil of these rarities, there's like 9 different ones or something that you can get, maybe 10 that you can get of Elesh Norn. So it's basically just like a take your pick kind of thing.
All right, I think we spent enough time on mommy
We
time,
definitely
so
did.
We probably
We spent enough time, but I think she deserves it. Anyway, let's go ahead and go over blue.
Shout out to the moms out there.
You're continuing this. I'm trying to move on. All right.
Yeah, move on.
All right. Next up is Blue Sun's Twilight. It's X and 2 blue for a sorcery. Gain control of target creature with mana value X or less. If X is 5 or more, create a token that's a copy of that creature. I really like the design of this card, but X is 5 is a lot, but I understand why they did it, because the art of this card is depicting Jin-Gitaxias in a really cool way. Like, Jin-Gitaxias is like holding the moon in the hands there. And Jin-Gitaxias is 7 mana, so they're trying to say if you pay 7 mana for Blue Sun's Twilight, you can copy it. What do you think, Airball, of this design?
I think it's kind of cool. I'm not. I was more focused on evaluating the card itself, but I think that's very difficult to do without seeing the rest of the set. If there's good ways, if there's like a good target for theft, then I think that this card could be very good. And it reminds me a lot of Mass Manipulation from the previous set too. So it's too expensive for any like steal and sack deck, so you want to be stealing consequential permanents. It's like stealing Shieldred would be pretty good, stealing like Titan of Industry would be pretty good. So if those cards are good in the format, then this one probably will be as well.
I don't know about Titan of Industry. It's literally stick 9 mana into that thing, into Blue Sun's Twilight, to steal a Titan of Industry. You do want to copy it, but also stealing legendaries is weird too, because then it doesn't, like, you would copy the legendary but have to like legend rule it. So that's kind of weird. Like, what do you think about this, Michael?
I think I think I'm simplifying it in a sense of like tempo and mana, and I don't think this is a card that like blue might be interested in, because if you're playing this card, like, maybe it works, but you kind of have to play a weird game where you're like, oh, I'm going to counter a lot of your early turn stuff, and then like mid game I'm going to kind of let things slip because I see a Blue Sun's Twilight in my hand, or I know I could maybe draw one from my deck, and then like you kind of steal their thing at like that's 5 or more mana, but let's just think it's like turn 7 and you do it. So now you grab something that's like a 5 mana thing and you copy it, but like that's not, it's kind of counter to what your deck is doing in the first place. It seems like a weird fit. It seems more like a commander card, and it just seems like it's diverting from a game plan that would want from a card that wants to play this, just because of the two blue mana cost. If it was 1 blue and an X, or 1 blue and X, 1 blue and an X, it might be a little bit better, but because of the 2 blue costs, it seems to be doing something that, a primarily blue deck doesn't really want to be doing. But I could be incorrect.
I think you're right that it's about tempo and wanting to like get to the late stage of the game, but I don't think you necessarily need to like wait it out. This reminds me of Aaron Gertler's Steelio Girl deck from like several years ago now, which was built around just green-blue ramp into Mass Manipulation, Bolus's Clutches,
I remember that.
and just like taking all of the opponent's permanents. We don't know what the standard will look like when this set comes out. We're looking at literally 6 cards here, but it's possible that ends up being good.
Yeah, the thing that this card reminds me the most of, I forgot the name off the top of my head, but it literally is just X. I think it's exactly X blue, but doesn't have the additional, like, if X is 5 or more, create a token that's a copy of it. And it was
Entrancing Melody.
Yeah, Entrancing Melody was played like up to 3 copies in sideboards of Dimir Rogues, I think it was, and other mono blue tempo decks. because they don't really have a really good answer outside of the a legitimate business person card to get rid of problematic permanents, because they're playing just mono blue. So there's no like real removal spells. It's just bounce spells like Fading Hope and stuff. And Blue Sun's Twilight, a card like Entrancing Melody in the past, was a card that was played. You were going to say something, Michael?
Yeah, it's a very specific card for a very specific deck. I think if there isn't something that's more styled that way, like for tempo, of like, you know, that's what it was like a tempo aggro deck, the Dimir Rogues deck, then yeah, then it works out there because their problems that the deck had, this was a solution for it. But unless you have a deck that kind of falls into the same kind of style, I don't think Blue Sun's Twilight is going to be something that could be, you know, easily slotted even into a sideboard slot. Like, it's just very awkward unless a metagame call is done that way, where like mono white or mono green, like some sort of deck is playing some off weird 5 or 6, you know, mana thing that's very game swingy, and a control deck can slot 2 of these Blue Sun's Twilight, counter all their stuff, let them resolve their 6 mana thing, and I have like 3 in these in my sideboard. I can steal their thing and then like turn the game around. But like, if you're doing something like this, the game better be turning around, or you better have like a good tempo aggro game plan. That's why I'm like kind of so against this card.
Yeah. Well, actually, the thing that I'm most excited about with this isn't even about this card. It's about seeing White Sun's Twilight, Green Sun's Twilight, Black Sun's Twilight, and Red Sun's Twilight. I want to say what those cards do too.
There we Temple, was it Temple Pilots, Temple Garden, Black Old Sun?
I mean, this is clearly going after is a sequel set of like the Blue Sun Zenith, Blue Sun's Twilight, Green Sun Zenith, Green Sun's Twilight. So I'm excited to see what those cards do. And it's probably gonna be some part of a cycle, right? Yeah, probably.
We'll see.
Moving on to another one. If Elesh Norn's mommy, this one's definitely daddy. Phyrexian Obliterator. Yeah. It's a 4-black, just straight up.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. This is my card. Hold up, sit down real quick, Jay. Let me just talk about Phyrexian, my boy, Phyrexian Obliterator, real quick.
No, you have to call him dad. You have to call him daddy, though.
He daddy. Yeah, we know he daddy. He daddy. Yeah, Phyrexian Obliterator, daddy.
Look at those. Look at those obliques. I see what I did there.
We got black, 5/5 trample creature Phyrexian horror. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source controller sacrifices that many permanents. It's daddy. Okay, that card is hot. Let me tell you.
All right, this card actually is going to be difficult to splash into your more than black color deck, like really hard. It's just 4 black, no generic mana, but I have seen it in green black decks that are just splashing 1 green card, and it's just a green fight spell for Phyrexian Obliterator to fight your opponent's creature. Your creature deals a lot of deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, and they sacrifice their entire board actually. So I've seen a certain like janky combo decks with this, but I've never really thought that those decks were ever like really good. The thing I see Phyrexian Obliterator in is like a 2/2, like 2 Shieldred, 2 Phyrexian Obliterator in like mono black aggro or mono black midrange, or like sideboarded copies of Phyrexian Obliterator against red damage removal decks, because they just cannot deal with this card. Like they will have to sideboard some weird cards to deal with this, and it's probably going to be some weird steal a creature and attack you with it card. Airball. How do those decks in the next standard? And I'll get to you last, Michael, because I want you to talk about this the longest. Sure. But Airball, how do you if you're like a red based aggro deck, if you're like Gruul Werewolves, that's not really a deck in standard anymore. But if you're like a Gruul deck, or like a Gruul, even in Pioneer, like the Gruul boat deck, the vehicles deck, and you're playing with like, you know, Asika's Chariot and things like that, or how are you dealing with this? Like, do you just scoop?
Well, you cast a Blue Sun's Twilight for X = 4.
And then you copy it and have 2 of them.
Right. Yeah. Taste it. But you're right that it's very difficult. It's not impossible. aggro decks can just like build up a super wide board and go around the Obliterator because sacrificing permanents doesn't matter if the opponent's already dead. But yeah, it's a huge roadblock. I will say that I have fond memories of this card in Historic. Remember back when Historic was good, before they added all the alchemy cards to it?
Yes.
And you had Jeskai Control and Mono Black was a thing. And one of the removal spells that people ran was Justice Strike, where a creature dealt damage to itself
Oh,
equal to
yeah.
its power.
I remember that.
Oh my
I've been
god.
Mhm.
Oh, that was so satisfying, and I hope we see it again.
All right, Michael, it's your time to shine.
All right, just before I shine, I've been got by that Justice Strike, and it feels bad. It feels real bad. But I think I won that game still because, like, I just got rid of everything other than it, and I just beat their face in. Anyway, but it felt bad. Phyrexia Obliterator, great. There's like a thing that someone posted on Twitter about playing Bushwhack, which Bushwhack is from the recent set that dropped from Bro. Bushwhack, 1 green, sorcery, choose 1, search your target library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. And then the other option is target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So, and I think, it was Ash Lizzle. Ash Lizzle, what a queen, what a awesome, amazing content creator. Check out her stuff, she's amazing. I've seen her pull stuff like this in Historic back in the day, so I'm sure she's very excited. They're like, she put a post out like they ain't ready, and I don't believe they ready. The reason why it's exciting is because Bushwhack, although albeit it's a sorcery, it fixes what you need to happen, right? So like, say that you pulled your green source early, you get a Bushwhack, you can get that other black mana that you need in order to cast. Ideally you're not, this does not need to line up this way, but you can cast, get your other swamp that you need to cast the Obliterator, and then things kind of stabilize. So it's not too bad if you even do this on like turn 5, where like you use your green source, you get your 4th final mana, and you slap down a Phyrexian Obliterator. Your opponent can't really, it's hard to interact with a Phyrexian Obliterator. So it might be something in the realm of possibility. Or, you have the perfect mana base. You have, is there a pain land that does both green and a black? I forget.
There is, Llanowar Waste.
Yeah.
Llanowar Waste. So you have your perfect mana base of, within your first 4 draw steps, like you were able to pull that Llanowar Waste and additional black mana.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah.
Turn 5, you're able to make your opponent fight something, and you just remove their board, and it's an easy win. Like, it's not outside the realm of a possibility of working, and I'm curious to see if something kind of works its way into it. But obviously, like, if this thing becomes more of a problem, people are going to solve the problem of figuring out how to deal with a Phyrexian Obliterator. But super exciting stuff. If you have ever crafted a Phyrexian Obliterator and seen your opponent deal with it, or not read Phyrexian Obliterator,
Yeah,
that shit is hot, daddy hot. He just said, "Yo, board, it's mine, it's gone. I'll see you later. You can see we done here. Daddy in the building. And shit is hot."
Michael's gonna make some children cry at FNM with this.
What? Me? No, me? I got a mono black deck already sleeved up. Me? No. Me?
Oh, sorry, I misjudged you terribly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, getting to 4 black mana on turn 4 or 5 isn't outside the realm of possibility even in a 3-color deck right now. People are casting Invoke Despair in their 3-color decks, which I didn't think should ever be possible, but it's surprisingly consistent with the mana bases right now in Standard. Even the black-green mana, there's Zeator's Proving Ground, Llanowar Waste, and the slow land, I forgot what the name of it is, but there's 3 different, like, pretty good green-black dual lands in Standard right now, and you could also splash in a 3rd color and have even more black dual lands and have every single mana in your entire deck black if you wanted to, and still cast all of your spells on curve. So if there was a standard that you can cast Phyrexian Obliterator with not only playing mono black, this is probably it.
Ooh, it's too hot. It's too hot.
Okay,
we gotta move on.
I mean, speaking of hot, we have 3 hot red cards coming, and to finish it off, number 1 is Koth, Fire of Resistance. There was some cool MTG lore with Koth that we won't go into today, but Koth is back in the new set. It's 2/2 red for 4 loyalty Planeswalker, +2 search your library for a basic mountain card, reveal it, put it onto your hand, and then shuffle. -3 is Kothfire of Resistance, deals damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control. And then -7 is you get an emblem with whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control. This emblem deals 4 damage to any target. So, I mean, you can, in theory, play Koth, +2 to 6, search a mountain. Next turn for that, +2 again to 8, search another mountain, and then you can emblem this, play your mountain, and deal 4 damage. Whether it's ever going to get to that point is a whole different story. The only good thing I can say about Koth, and 4-mana Planeswalkers are in an interesting spot with competing with cards like the Wandering Emperor, which is like pretty hard to do to compete with, even in Standard, is this -3 to deal damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control doesn't actually kill the Koth, so it has something going for it. But other than that, I don't think it's that good. I mean, the only way it's good is if they don't remove it and also they don't attack it. But if they're not removing anything you control and they're not attacking you and they don't have creatures, then you're probably winning anyway. Right, Airball?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's also not a whole lot of actual mountains in Standard right now, like with lands with the basic type mountain. So you're kind of stuck playing Koth in mono red, which traditionally wants its planeswalkers for the control matchup. And this card is just real bad as planeswalkers go against control. So I think in Standard it's not great. Maybe in older formats, where you have the mana base to sustain something like that, it would be okay. But then you're competing with like Chandra Torch of Defiance and Jaya, and I just don't see a spot for it.
Okay, one thing I do have to mention about what you said is that it actually searches for a basic mountain, not any mountain card. So it can't search for Jetmir's Garden and also can't search for Xander's Lounge.
Sure, I'm talking about the minus abilities, which are based on the number of just.
Yeah. So yeah, you can play Xander's Lounge and Jetmir's Garden and Zeotor's Proving Ground. So all 3 of those are mountains.
Yeah, but then you're playing a bunch of tap lands as well. So this doesn't want to be in like a mono red aggro deck, but I don't think it's very good. I don't think it's worth playing in the 3 color decks that you're describing either, because at the 4-drop slot in those decks, you just have stuff that's way more powerful than this.
Yeah.
So I just don't see a home for it.
Yeah. Wait, what do you think about this, Michael?
I think what's really aggravating, like, we all want to be excited because we're returning back to like Phyrexia type stuff, and like we're waiting. I hope, like, I don't think they'll ever get to it. We'll see that we do some Phyrexian mana type of things, but like these, other than Phyrexian Obliterator, which is on track of what Black wants to be doing, you know, Elesh Norn, Blue Sun's Twilight, this card, it's kind of anti of what the color identity wants to be doing, or what it's slotting into the color identity of what you want to be focusing on onto what the card does. Like, you know, Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, white card. You want to make a whole bunch of small creatures attack fast, kill, right? 5 mana. You have Blue Sun's Twilight, efficiency. You want to be very efficient with what you're doing. You want to tempo your opponent. You want to kill your opponent. You know, Blue Sun's Twilight isn't necessarily in line with that perfectly. Then you have Koth-5 Resistance, which is kind of like opposite of what you want to be doing in red, which is like ramping and like controlling your opponent's board, and, you know, but really all you want to do is come in and beat face. Like, Koth-Fire Resistance is, I just explained what it's not lining up with your red game plan. It's double red. You know, I don't know what deck wouldn't want this, that's doing something other than red, that wants to. And it's not even ramp, it's just ensuring that you pick up a mountain, and then you can, it's like a control card in red. And like, unless there's big red or big red control, which happens sometimes in Historic or happens sometimes in Pioneer, but definitely not in Standard. And like, even in those other formats I mentioned, Koth is not something you're interested in playing. So like, I don't know what this card is supposed to be doing. Sick card, sick art, real cool vibes, but I don't know what this is, how it contributes to gameplay.
Okay, you know what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna come up with a way that I think this is broken. Correct. And out of this world, so freaking good. Correct. Right? Like I did with Power Stone tokens, like I did with Eldrazi's. You know, I'm here to break the meta. You know what I mean? Like, Power Stone tokens are awesome. Have you played Standard recently? I don't know. Anyway, I've found the way to break Koth. Okay, you ready? I just thought about this. There might be holes in this. Okay, so don't bind me to this. Preach. But Historic, Okay, I don't play historic, but like you can play historic and play
You
this.
can't start that way. You can't start
Okay.
that way. Start that
No,
one
no,
more
no,
time.
no, no,
Start
no,
that
no,
one
no,
more
no.
time.
I'm saying that I'm not going to play it, but if you play historic, listening to this, you do this, please, and tell me that you did this. Koth Fires of Resistance. Are you ready? Is Scape Shift banned in historic? I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
Continue.
no. Is Scape Shift banned in modern? Nope. Let me give you a little bit of a Koth Fires of Resistance idea. The -7 is you play Vorinclex, the 6-mana one from Kaldheim, and then you play Koth after that. Are you ready? It enters the battlefield at 8 loyalty. You -7 immediately after it enters the battlefield because it doubles the loyalty counters when it enters the battlefield, and then you Scape Shift into a bunch of Valakuts and you deal 4 damage to their face and kill them. It's not going to happen. It's bad, and that's all I can think of.
Have you considered the next Olympics? Because the amount of tricks and loops that you just did was wild.
You could technically do
That's
that.
a stretch even for you. Like, I accept a little bit of stretch because you make content and you do make decks that like whip people's butt on the ladder, but I ain't seeing it, man.
Listen, I don't I'm gonna do this. Okay, now
That's it. Don't. Exactly.
I'm gonna do this now. Okay, I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure out a way to put Vorinclex on the battlefield and then play Koth afterwards, Scape Shift and Valakut people. I'm going to do that.
Someone memed James to that. I had to do it to him.
I mean, if okay, I can always give the excuse that it's for the content, right? I don't actually have to be serious, right? I mean, if I say it's for the content, we're moving on.
I just love how if you play these other good cards that are situationally good with this one.
Oh my god!
But it's good though, right? Because in historic there's no Valakut. In modern, it's a tier 1 deck. You can Scape Shift into a bunch of mountains because there's a bunch of triomes and stuff that are mountains and dumb your opponent's face for a game.
Let me tell you, I play a lot of mine. If you're playing Koth on 4, I'm happy. I am so happy. Y'all.
No. It's not gonna be Koth on 4. The turn I play Koth, you're dead. I'm playing it, and it's gonna go to 8 loyalty when it enters the battlefield, and I'm gonna -7 immediately and Scape Shift, and you die.
Okay.
How about you have Elesh Norn and play instead?
How about you steal it with Blue Sun's Twilight? Okay, moving on. Slow Bad is a 2 and a red. Phyrexian Goblin Artificer. It's a 3/3.
Are we describing the last card, Slow Bad?
That's what I was thinking.
I'm literally wheezing.
You talking about Koth? Koth Slow Bad?
We're not talking about Koth. We're talking about the new card.
Oh, the new card. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
It's a new card, I promise. It's called Slow Bad Iron Goblin. It's not that Koth is slow and bad. All right, it's 2 and it's 2 and a red. It's a legendary creature, Phyrexian Goblin Artificer. It's a 3/3. You can tap it and sacrifice an artifact. Add an amount of red mana equal to the sacrificed artifact's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. I really wish it didn't say that line. I just want to add all the red. Like what could go wrong, right? Like what are they preventing from happening by making this a 3-mana 3/3 that sacrifices an artifact and just adds red, period, right?
This
older
feels
formats.
like there's some busted infinite combo that would be way too easy if you didn't have that last line of text.
Probably in an older format, but like, I don't know. Like, is this card good?
Like a red. I don't know.
It looks like you cast it because your deck's supposed to be cool and fun, and then they remove it, and then your deck's no longer cool and fun because you no longer control this creature on the battlefield.
Yeah, and I don't know what red stuff is cool. Like, we have Mishra's research desk, right? Like, that's kind of a cool red thing. That's artifacts, but like, is there any other, like, I know there's Onika Anvil. Is there some cool, like,
But what's weird though is that like a lot of artifacts that you would want to sacrifice give you no red mana, right? Because you get red mana equal to the sacrifice artifact's mana value, and you can only use it to cast artifacts or activate abilities of artifacts. So like, what the heck can you do with this? I mean, I have a pretty janky brain, as you can see, as for the Koth example. But like, I don't even think off the top of my head I can figure out something to do with this.
Judge,
I think. Go ahead.
The prototype cards. What's their CMC when they're in play?
Their CMC actually
Like
it changes to their prototype cost.
Okay, I was thinking maybe we could cheat out like 9 mana worth of value
I
with a prototype card.
I mean,
but-
you could, like, you can play a 2-mana artifact and then play Slowbat on 3, and then on turn 4, you can sacrifice the 2-mana card, gain 2 red mana, play your untap land, and then you get 6 mana on turn 4. Like, is this a ramp card?
I think why this card is written the way it is written is because Springleaf Drum exists, and going from, I think that's probably why.
I mean, Springleaf Jump would just, like, this is far too inefficient to play with Springleaf Drum.
Yes and no. Like, your turn after you play Slow Bad, or the turn that you play Slow Bad, you can do 5 mana worth of things on turn 3. So,
well, I mean, it's a tap and sack an artifact ability, so you have to wait till turn 4 because it'll be summon sick.
that's
I
right.
wonder-
Yeah.
Do you think there's something here with like Emery and Paradox Engine?
Like, what are you gonna do?
this-
Sacrifice a card to ramp in a Paradox Engine?
Well, yeah, that would be one thing you could do. But like a lot of the time with Emery, you don't get to use her for value just because your graveyard is empty, and this will fill your graveyard and give you the mana to recast things. All of a sudden, you have a Paradox Engine in play, and this is an infinite loop with that, right?
Yes, because Paradox Engine sacrifices this. I mean, Paradox Engine untaps the Slowbad, and the Slowbad can keep tapping and sacrificing the artifact and adding mana to keep going.
Exactly.
And then you would
Right,
also
so you
play
don't
like
have to rely
Bergie.
on
You play
Emery.
Bergie as well, right? To like keep it. You can probably Infinite Storm with this card in Historic, but Historic's the only format that you can play Paradox Engine because it's banned in like almost every other format.
You can play it in Explorer, I'm pretty sure.
Paradox Engine?
I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to play it in Explorer and Pioneer, but it is banned in Modern and it is banned in Commander.
The game designers wrote this in a very specific way that is very interesting. They're very careful about this, and so like they might have been so careful that it makes it kind of bad.
Yeah,
So,
because when you print this effect, like, and you're not super careful, there's so many people in this world that will figure this card out if it didn't say that last line, and it will just break the game. You know?
Well, even the first line, like add an amount of red equal to the sacrifice
Mhm.
artifact's mana value, like that also, like, because if it didn't have that either, depending how they wrote that, like, yeah, so and it taps, so yeah, they wrote this in like so many different ways because
Yeah.
they noticed like all the dials on this thing would be so effed if like they didn't be super strict about it. So they did it in such a fact that like it kind of removed all the fun from the card. I don't know.
Yeah, but we have seen an example in Magic the Gathering history where they tried to nerf a card into oblivion and ended up the card being still good enough to get banned. You know that black, yeah, Skull Clamp. Like, but I'm talking about the nerfed version of the card still getting banned. You remember? Anyone remember the card? Black Lotus. You know what that card is? Anyway, that card
No,
they tried to. I know, weird, right? Weird concept. They printed a card called Lion's Eye Diamond, which is supposed to be a way to like nerf Black Lotus to tap itself only at instant speed, discard your whole hand, and then add 3 mana, just like Black Lotus. But you have to discard your hand, and it's only used at instant speed. But that card still got banned, and it's still played in CEDH to this day, and it's one of the most broken cards in CEDH. So WotC in the past has done a nerf to a card that has still made the card super broken. So we will have to see with Slowbad Iron Goblin, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And I'm not smart enough to break this card. Someone else is just smarter than me that'll have to do it. Moving on to the last card, Jor Kadeen, First Gold Warden. It's a 2-mana 2/2. The 2 mana is a red and a white for a legendary creature, Human Rebel, with Trample. Whenever Jor Kadeen, First Gold Warden, attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then, if Jor Kadeen's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. I mean, any effect that this has had in the past has just been awful, right?
Yeah.
The only time I can even see this card being played is in Pioneer and Modern, because they have what's the card, Sigarda's Aid, and with like Colossus Hammer, and those are the only times I can see that being played. And you would have to play Boros colors for that, and usually in Modern they like to play blue-white to be able to play Spell Pierce and like Lavinia on the sideboard. But but the Pioneer version of Hammer does play red-white. So have you seen the Hammer deck in Pioneer at all, either one of you?
No
way.
I've seen it in Pioneer, and it is red-white, and this card could be played, but what's this gonna do? Like, you have one equipped creature, like you get +1/+1 when this attacks, so it's gonna be a 2-mana 3/3 trample, and then if its power is 4 or greater due to Colossus Hammer, so it'll be a 13/13 trample, and then you draw a card. Like that.
Sure,
That's
but then you've done the thing.
yeah,
right?
like that's the thing that I can see you doing, but that still doesn't win you the game, right? Like,
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you do so much work and the effect of, you know, doing all that work isn't good enough, and also your opponent sees that thing happening from a mile away. It's like
I mean, with
Yeah,
with Sigarda's aid though, you can just flash in the hammer, equip it to Jorkadine, and then its power will be 4 or greater on the trigger of Jorkadine. Like, you could do that if you wanted to.
yeah, this effect isn't as bad as it was like a few sets ago because you still have the reconfigure equipments from Kamigawa. So if your creature dies, you don't just get blown out on the mana that you invested. You still have something laying around. Without haste, this card doesn't interest me at all. I think this is just a commander thing.
Yeah, it could be just a commander, but I could see it seeing play in Pioneer or Explorer just based off of the deck wanting to just do play a creature on turn 2, and then turn 3 equip, maybe give this +2 plus whatever with an equipment, and then draw a card, which is a lot of value, which the deck usually does not have because it's playing a lot of the artifacts and everything, Ornithopters or whatever on turn 1 and removing their hand. This gaining back the card advantage would be the reason why this card would be playable if it ever is. So that's it for all of the creatures. Let's move on to the other stuff. That's there's some lands we're going to go over. There's some other rarities we're going to go over. There is the basic land set. If you're watching this from YouTube, is a plains, an island, a swamp, mountain, and forest, of course. And then there is the Phyrexian full art versions. I mean, those are full art versions as well, and those will be. I honestly think they'll be really cool foil. I do like the look of these, but the Phyrexian version of it, I don't like. Michael, you like these, right?
yeah, I don't know if anyone remember the secret layer that was called like the Brutal Lands, or I forget what it's called, but it was basically just straight up black and white and had similar art styles. And it's one that I use on my arena sleeves all the time. But yeah, I kind of do like the art style on them. It's just like simple, kind of elegant, but still has a little bit of complexity, and like, and speaking within that, that's like very Phyrexian. So like, and I like that, you know, you have the Phyrexian like text or whatever. So I don't know. To me, because I really liked how the Brutal Lands were. It kind of like speaks into that inspiration, and so I guess I'm kind of a fan. And I get from Airball and in the one Jane that like it isn't for everyone, but I guess this art style is for someone like me who's, you know, I don't know, a little bit more like death and like I don't know, weird eldritchy type of effects. I'm a warlock main in D&D stuff, so like this is the type of stuff that I'm just like, oh yeah, look at all this like fucking deep dark fucking shit. So that's me.
Wasn't the last art that looked similar to this, but you know, not really? Was that from Kaldheim when they did that? When they did the whole rock theme and they made the land art that looked kind of like this? Was that the black and white lands that you're talking about? Was that Kaldheim or was that something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I think they were called like Brutal something. I can look it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kaldheim, and I wasn't a huge fan of those lands either. But yeah, look it up.
Yeah,
let me know. Was it Kaldheim?
I'm about to look.
Yeah, look it up. There are also the regular basic lands that are just going to come in foil and just regular, the ones that you'll just open all the time out of your packs. And these aren't like super awesome or anything. They're just regular basic lands. But if you like your regular basic lands, here they are. And also we have our next form of borderless cards. They're called the alternate art borderless cards. And this is the one we were talking about earlier, that Elesh Norn has an alternate art of this alternate art. But this alternate art comes with Elesh Norn, as we said before. It comes with Phyrexian Obliterator, Slow Bad Iron Goblin, and Jorkadine First Gold Warden. And I don't know. This type of card just isn't for me. I don't like them. Maybe they'll look better if they were foil or something. Do you like these, Airball?
I don't. A lot of these remind me of the double feature Innistrad cards, which I think are kind of an abomination. I only play them when I can't find another copy of anything else. I do love the Phyrexian Obliterator though. It kind of has that like Rorschach test feel to it. It fits for the Phyrexian Obliterator, but the rest it just feels kind of comic booky and forced.
Yeah, I like I agree with you folks. Actually, I do like the first three or that we're looking on Scryfall if you're on YouTube. But Elesh Norn, Phyrexian Obliterator, and Slowbad, I do like the style. But like I said, I'm the fan of like the in the secret layer I'm referring to was the unfathomable crushing brutality of basic lands. So that's the secret layer thing I was talking about. But I do like this art style. When I was in high school, I was a big metal rock alternative art, prog rock, like just very into the rock scene type of stuff. And this is like this type of like rawness, intensity is the stuff that I really like, and like I really like in Magic as well. So I definitely am a fan personally, but I understand, like I said, the art style is not for everyone, and there's some other goofy art styles that people are like, I love this. I'm like, y'all goofy, but like this one, I like this stuff.
Yeah, I have nothing against like the reason why these what I'm about to talk about were created, but when in fact I love the reason why they're created. But the Crayon Hoof card, the like the was it a secret lair that they had that were drawn by children.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that love the art, and I mean I personally don't like the art, but I do love what it stands for. But I personally would not be putting them in my decks, and it's just like this in every other art. Some things aren't for you, but also you can put them in your deck, or you could just not put them in your deck. The Phyrexian Obliterator and the Slowbad Iron Goblin from the alternate art borderless cards that we see here remind me of the Innistrad Midnight Hunt, like just straight up black and white cards. Like, was that what you were talking about earlier, Airball? Like the straight up black and white, but you don't even know like what color they are. Like I don't even know what land. Like they all look like a swamp. Even though it's like it's a plains, but it looks like a swamp. So I can never know like what's on the other side of the battlefield. Like, is that a black card or is that like a plains? Like I can't actually tell. But
yeah, it looks like they screwed up with the printing.
Like came off the press wrong.
Like they ran out of ink. Yeah.
They're like, whoops, sorry, ran out of color. Let's just color it black and white. But it's just not my thing. Let's go. There's only one copy of a borderless planeswalker, which I love this art. Like, this art is just the best to me. Koth Fire of Resistance is getting a borderless black and white art, but I like the fact that the around the Koth Fire of Resistance and around the Planeswalker loyalty abilities is just bright red, so you know what color it is. But everything else is black and white, and I just love this art.
You buying 4 copies, right?
Of Koth? Yeah, for my combo. My combo kill.
Okay, yeah. You're buying 4 copies. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I have to buy 4 copies. How else is a combo kill supposed to be consistent? You know what? I've already decided it's 4 colors. Emergent Ultimatum plus red. And I'm going to Emergent Ultimatum for the combo pieces.
You heard it here first, folks. Next time you see the one James, if he's out and about and he's playing a format that he can be playing this, he got 4 copies of these.
It's not even a meme for me. That's the weird part. Moving on. The oil slick foils, and this is going to be fun. We already talked about Elesh Norn being an oil slick foil. That's the only actual card we know of so far that's in the oil slick. There's 5. The 5 basic land types are also oil slick foils. It kind of reminds me of the what were the Pokemon lands again? What set was that? Was that Eldraine? Or no. It was
Theros.
It was Theros Beyond Death.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of those, like the templating, just the mana symbol in the middle plus whatever's around it. But this, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform or not on YouTube, so you can't see this, it looks kind of like that, just the mana symbol in the middle, like pretty big, and then the puddle that you step in the parking lot around it, like the rainbow foily oily color. Do you like this, guys?
Airball, do you like it?
I like the Elesh Norn because I think the oil slick flavor is good for the Phyrexians. The lands I can take or leave.
I'm a fan. Oil me up, baby. Slick me up. That's I like these lands. They remind me, like you said, about the Theros, so that simple elegance. And I think over time the Magic community will like them if you like foils. You can you're good with your foils of making them flat and stuff. I don't know if these foils are like kind of printed, the foils or like the angle of like the foil makes them so that the color that they're supposed to be, because like on the kind of the previews on Scryfall, it kind of looks rainbowy, but it also kind of looks like it's the colors they're meant to be, but that might just be a coincidence. But if they're able to pull off like they're always purple with the sheen, like for swamp, and always blue for like, you know, island, and red for this the mountain, that'd be really like hot. I'm a fan. I like the simple elegance of it, and I like how like there you were speaking earlier how you don't like lands or something that seems to have some sort of um vagueness or something, but these are very clear and concise, like this is
Yeah.
a swamp. And so
Yeah.
and I like kind of, I don't know, this art style also reminds me of like old textbooks that I looked at while I was in the Philippines, or like very old textbooks where it's just straight up black and white and they had to do like the most they can with it. And so if you look at the background art, it just looks kind of dope. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, I do like these for the fact that you can clearly tell what color it is. The symbols in the middle are the actual color, and that's not just a sheen. You can tell that it's like white, blue, purple, red, and green. And then the bottom writing of the Phyrexian is that color also, and it's purposely that color. Everything else is just the rainbow oil sheen, I think. But those two things in the card, and it's super noticeable, are the actual color of the card, which makes me way more excited than the other ones that were literally just black and white and had you could barely see an outline of what color the land was.
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, I do like those. We have one extended art card that's shown, but like every card's going to be extended art. We have the Blue Sun's Twilight here. And then we also have I don't know what promo it is, but we have two different promos. There is, well, the promo, actually, no, the last one is not a promo. This one is a promo. The Elesh Norn that looks like the T-pose stick figure pose, that is the only promo we have. And then the Phyrexianized card is probably the only one, which is the Elesh Norn, because there's no other Phyrexian that we know of yet in this. And maybe Phyrexian Obliterator gets this kind of treatment, but for right now, the Phyrexian writing is just for Elesh Norn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe we get a Phyrexian Jace.
Do we get a Phyrexian Jace? Actually, yes. That is something we should probably mention as well, right?
I hope so.
Does anyone remember off the top of your head, or do you have it in front of you, the 10 different planeswalkers that are going to be in the set confirmed? There are 10 planeswalkers confirmed in the set. We don't have the exact like abilities of what the cards do yet, but we do have Koth that is confirmed, not Phyrexianized. And especially the name is Fire of Resistance. So go ahead, Airball, talk to us about the planeswalkers coming in the new set.
So we know, I believe, that Jace will be there, Kaito's going to be there, Kaya, Koth, Luca, for reasons I don't fully understand, Nahiri, Nissa, Tyvar, Vraska, and the Wandering Emperor herself. And I think we know also that 5 of them are going to be completed.
Yes, five out of the 10 are going to be completed, and Koth is guaranteed not completed.
Right. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna like pop off real quick. Jace completed. I hate Jace. I don't care. All you Jace lovers out there, I don't care. He's so mid. All y'all love him for no freaking reason. He gonna be completed. That boy, just complete that boy. Second, you know, maybe next, Luca, kind of in the same vein, to be honest. Like his storyline, super whack. We thought he was gonna be super cool. He's just always like very mean to everyone he comes across. Yeah. He has an attitude for no goddamn reason. That boy completed. We could see a Nahiri completed because she has some internal rage and some XYZ, why she, you know, whatever. I can see that. And then the other two, I don't feel like we have Nissa completed. However, if Nissa gets completed, how busted is that card? That card is busted right in half.
Okay, like, I personally think Nissa is going to be completed. You want to know why?
Okay. What's up?
Because Nissa Who Shakes the World, what was the Nissa that came after that? The Golgari Nissa, the format Nissa. And then, and since Nissa Who Shakes the World turned into, I don't know if it's in sequential order or whatever, but it was sequential as far as like sets were concerned. The Nissa has black in it now. And what is that supposed to mean? That Nissa's leaning towards being Phyrexian, or more leaning towards the dark side, if you will. I could also see Vraska being Phyrexianized because Vraska's already green-black.
Yeah, that's kind of
And if you haven't seen yet on the live stream of Magic, they showed the concept art or whatever, or it was like a version of like 5 or 10 planeswalkers in a picture, and it showed them all Phyrexianized, even though we don't know which ones are Phyrexianized or not. There is going to be guaranteed Phyrexian arts of the planeswalkers, even if they're not Phyrexian, even if they're not completed. I should say Phyrexianized, completed. There will be like teaser arts of all of the cards that will be actually printed that are completed arts, but not necessarily the planeswalker being completed. And we have the completed art of Vraska, and she looks insane. And I'm telling you, after seeing that art, if Vraska is not completed after seeing that art, I will be upset.
So I also saw, I think it was your tweet actually, James, about the alchemy card Assemble the Team.
Yes, it was my tweet.
Yeah, so there are 5 planeswalkers in the art for that card, and it looks very, we're going to take on the Phyrexians. And the 5 planeswalkers there are Nissa, Vraska, the Wandering Emperor, Kaya, and I think that's Koth, although it's kind of hard to tell. Which, if those are the 5 non-completed ones, that leaves us with Jace, Kaido, Luca, Nahiri, and who? What's the last one? There's one I'm missing.
Emperor?
No, she's right there in the center of the art for Assemble the Team. So I missed one. Oh, Tyvar. Tyvar would also be completed. That's the one I was missing. So Jace, Kaido, Luca, Nahiri, and Tyvar would be the completed planeswalkers in that case.
Yeah, I brought the card up on the YouTube version here, and yeah, it's from left to right. It's Tyvar, it's Tyvar, then Kaya, and then Emperor, and then Vraska, and then Nissa, right?
I thought that might have been Koth on the left side.
I think that's Tyvar.
Okay. Well, we know Tyvar is not completed, confirmed, right?
No, Koth is not complete. That's the only one not completed, confirmed.
Right. Yeah. So if Koth isn't in that picture, and we know 5 of them are completed, then this theory's out the window.
Right. Well, that means that these 5 could be the ones that are completed.
Yeah, that's also possible.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, is this a teaser? Is this alchemy card a teaser for what could be completed? Because why else would these 5 planeswalkers be on the card when these 5 planeswalkers are going to be in the next set? And this was already printed into alchemy with like, of course, Wizards knows that these planeswalkers are going to be a part of the future sets, but we didn't know yet. And it was already printed on a card. And what is it just a coincidence that these are like 5 of the planeswalkers that are in the new set? Maybe not, probably not. And the fact that it's 5 of them and none of them are Koth leads me to believe that Tyvar, Kaya, Wandering Emperor, Vraska, and Nissa are going to be completed.
I feel like if we also were to think of which ones would be the 5 most busted completed ones, it would easily be like Jace, Kaido, Kaya, Nissa, and Vraska. Like if they were to complete those ones, that would just be busted in half. That's not my predictions, but those ones would be busted in half. If
you listeners have any prediction of which 5 you think will be Phyrexianized completed, let us know on Twitter at Nuts and Bolts Pod, and let us know which 5 you think will be completed. But anyways, this wraps it up for today's episode. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you to everyone for listening. Especially to those who made it this far. Thank you so much. Make sure to give us a follow to see our next episodes. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Nuts and Bolts Pod. And we will see you in the top 8.